and gentlemen, good morning and welcome to another edition of Toxic Happy Hour, where we are toxic towards scams that delay the adoption of global sound money. Today we have one of the original gangsters in Bitcoin, a guy, Swan, who's been around for since you bought your first Bitcoin in 1983. I think I recall something about.
I think it was 84. It was 84.
1984. Nice little reference to George Orwell's amazing book there. Guy, thank you very much for taking a chance on our little pub adventure here. Thanks for joining. And Pubby, good to see you. What are you guys drinking today?
We'll let the ghost go first.
I'm just drinking my coffee. Should I be drinking something else? I need to be. I got
whatever you want. Whatever you want, man.
Where's my camera? Here we go. Drinking coffee.
I'm just sticking with that little African beer, the Castell.
Nice.
Yeah.
So we were getting a little bit delayed, not a lot, only 2 minutes or so, because we were hitting up a great conversation in the green room. I'm like, time out, because Guy, what you're saying right now, it needs to be shared with the people waiting for the show, because this is the conversation that we enjoy having together with the chat and our viewers. Guy, you were talking about at the time that I totally rudely interrupted you and cut you off about Peter Schiff. Why don't you tell us a little bit about Peter Schiff and your opinion on him?
Yeah. So, a lot of people hate really hard on Peter Schiff because he is shockingly stubborn. And he is. I mean, I totally agree. What's funny is that that's what made him such a good spokesperson for kind of the Austrian economic theory. 10, 12, 15 years ago. Well, hell, I guess it's all the way back in 2008, 2009, like the great financial crisis and everything. So as much as, and I guess maybe, I've been in Bitcoin long enough that there was a time where literally no one took it seriously, like nobody. And I was very, very used to getting that look. If I ever brought it up, it was not even like, it was just the default that somebody looked at me like a sad little thing that, like a dog with 3 legs. You're like, oh, I'm so sorry for you. You're in some stupid internet scam. That's nice. We could talk about it later, and like, that was like the universal response. So I got pretty immune to being treated like an idiot whenever I brought it up in conversation. And so for a long time, it was just the default. If somebody is talking about Bitcoin, they're just talking about how stupid it is or how it's not going to work, unless it's specifically somebody I found in Bitcoin, right? Unless I was like on Nakamoto Institute and I'm talking to Bitstein and Pierre, right? Like those were the people that was it. It was the little bitty Bitcoin community. Peter Schiff was critical for, it was a big reason why I found my way to Austrian economics. I mean, I probably would have done it some other way too. Like, I mean, there were a lot of different avenues. Milton Friedman, my brother was doing economics in school, but we listened to Peter Schiff and followed him a lot. And he did such a good job of breaking down some of the overall concepts and how the credit cycle works that I got to attribute, like, he was a major factor. He really was. And he can hate on Bitcoin there are plenty of people who hated Bitcoin for many, many years. And I was like, okay, I still love you. We're still friends. I get it. But the one thing about Bitcoin's, about Peter Schiff's arrogance and stubbornness on the issue, that I think is the biggest hurdle that he has, is he doesn't understand why gold is good money. Is he is fundamentally, and it's an area where he thinks he knows so much, but he's simply been looking in the wrong direction. Like he attached himself to the idea that it was good money for reason C and D and A and B are actually the more important reasons. But because he's so knowledgeable about gold, is that he won't rethink it. He won't allow himself to think he's wrong about gold. And I think that's really where his massive failure to understand Bitcoin comes into play. Is he thinks he knows why gold is money, and he's got completely the wrong perspective on it.
Absolutely. Puppy, I'm gonna totally give the word to you, but I just want to jump in on that because I'm sorry. But the way a guy described it, Pedro, cheers to you, cheers to everyone in the chat. Thanks for joining, guys. And guys, Swan, feel free to retweet the link that Puppy sent out. No, that's not what I wanted to. That's not what I really wanted to say. So your take here on Peter Schiff. Yeah, we don't care in Toxic Happy Hour. We just lay it out as it is, uncensored. The thing about Peter Schiff, the way you describe it is he's standing next to the gold tree in the monetary forest, and he doesn't see the forest. The way his arguments is he thinks that gold has value because it has barter value, because he says, cufflinks, gold cufflinks, because people need gold cufflinks is the reason it has value. But that is just, it's not barter. There's a monetary premium, but Peter Schiff never understood monetary premium. He doesn't understand when a commodity comes along that has better properties on the properties of money, then it takes over as money of the world. On that note, Puppy, I do want to give the word to you.
Yeah, and we were talking not only on Peter Schiff, but Andreas Antonopoulos, and we'll talk to him a little bit too. People have different views, but I would say with Peter Schiff, the thing that gets me is it's like, at what point, at least Ray Dalio's come out and say, hey, maybe I was a little bit wrong on this thing. Maybe I should relook Bitcoin. But my God, I mean, we're pushing towards $50,000, and Schiff just digs in. He it can't even just like be quiet about it. He can't just like, you know what, I probably shouldn't tweet. He just doubles down, and he looks more foolish every time Bitcoin pumps. I just don't know what to say about the guy.
He's done this for 3 full cycles.
Yeah.
3, like since $11.
Yep.
That's a powerful stubborn. It really is.
It is like stubborn squared and then on steroids. He's now responsible for a lot of people misallocating and not buying Bitcoin. I actually had a conversation with Peter Schiff in January 2019 when Bitcoin was around $3,500. I was working at Bitcoin IRA at the time. I
miss those days.
Yeah, this is the time. This is the same month I met Puppy, the month I spoke to Peter Schiff. I got through on the phone. That was a busy month. It's a busy month. I spoke with Peter Schiff and I spoke with Puppy, and I tell you the conversation I enjoyed the most was the one with Puppy, obviously.
We got it.
And because I felt, okay, the guy can't be that stupid. He must see that Bitcoin is better money, but he keeps saying gold because that's his business model. So I offered him a business model from Bitcoin IRA where he would make an absolute killing if he converted people to Bitcoin, or at least the ones that wanted Bitcoin. I gave him an option to have like an insane commission on that, and the guy was still like, no, it's not money, no, gold is better. And I realized he just doesn't get it. So that was 3 years ago today. Around that. And so Guy Swan, back to you.
A lot of people, I think the general sentiment is that, Peter Schiff has gotten tons of people wrecked and had them not buy Bitcoin. I actually think the opposite. I actually think Peter Schiff is a really strong, maybe really strong is too much, at least a minor net positive to the whole space. One is he was giving attention to Bitcoin before Bitcoin had a lot of attention. He would he was giving a platform to Bitcoin and has. I mean, the amount of mind share that he dedicates to hating Bitcoin is rather remarkable. And everybody who may not be watching the price knows when it goes up, because Peter Schiff gets angry and he tweets about it. And there is a degree of people who will, the people who are going to blindly listen to him, we're going to blindly listen to anybody. Like that's what those people do. I don't think they're any great loss, because they're probably the ones that were going to buy in at 1,000 and sell at 2,200 and think they're geniuses. But the people who see Peter, I mean, again, this has been going on for like 9 years. So the people who have been watching him at $11, at $50, at $100, at $200 are just going to be watching how horribly this thing is going against them, against Peter Schiff. And they're going to, and the people who really know how to think and analyze and wonder why that this could possibly be the truth are going to dig into it and figure out why. And they're going to not be able, there's no way that they can avoid thinking about it, because every time they get a moment to take a break and step away from it, Peter Schiff reminds them that it's there and it's still going against exactly what he says. I don't think Peter Schiff has been a net negative on people investing in Bitcoin. I think he's been a net positive on people figuring out that Bitcoin is a real thing and actually digging into it, because Peter Schiff doesn't. That's just my take.
Guys, Swan, we have big Pro Bowler, Big Sean Harris, who is a pro basketball player in Southern Europe. I think I can say. I spoke actually to Sean, Big Sean, last night for the first time. Great to talk to you, Big Sean. And I did that in the Toxic Caviar Telegram group, which people can join on the link below. But there is a question for him from him here, Guy, for you. Do you think that Schiff owns BTC secretly?
If he does, it's not for any conviction. He might have like there might be something in the back of his head that like is nagging at him to like have just a little bit of it. And I could believe that. But in the kind of the implication of the question, no, I absolutely believe that Peter Schiff's conviction that Bitcoin is a scam or that Bitcoin is trash is true. I think he's being honest about his belligerence on the issue. But yes, I would not be surprised to find out he has a little bit somewhere that he kind of pretends he forgot about, but he knows, you know, like he bought, like he has $1,000 worth for some reason, or maybe somebody gave it to him and he says, oh, I'm just going to sell it and I'm just never going to do anything with it or whatever. But he's actually refusing. He's procrastinating because there's something nagging in the back of his mind. And so he's just going to let it sit there. That wouldn't surprise me in the least.
That's the one that gets me the most is imagine, you know, you've been an investor with Schiff from when it was $10 and by some reports under $10, if those are to believe, and to watch it 10x to 1,000, okay, and then watch it go up to 10,000, and then now and this whole time, you know that he's lost his clients billions, if not a trillion, if he could have invested back then. If you think about it like that.
It was $10, right? And it's like basically 50,000 right now. Yeah. So it's legit gone 5,000x. Yeah. From where he could have got it. He could have put in $1 and it'd be $5,000. Yep.
Well, and that's how I always want to. I hope one day, man, if you ever get a chance, you know, with Spencer Schiff going in on Bitcoin, I just want to hear that phone conversation where they get in a fight and Spencer tells his dad to have fun staying poor.
I want to see that on video.
An epic moment.
Yeah.
Guy, I have two important questions for you. First of all, how was your day yesterday?
Wait, which guy?
Guy.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
Guy and Pubby, right?
Guys,
okay.
So this is why in the green room I said for the name of East I would call Puppy Guy for Puppy and and Guy. I'll call you by your first name. But so yesterday there was a little bit of, price action and this. So how was your day? How does it feel?
Feels good. It feels good. It's not there's something that feels really underwhelming about where we are right now, honestly. And I think it's just because we've been talking about it and preparing for it for so long. And it kind of feels overdue more than anything. But as far as my schedule, I did a couple chapters of an audiobook and did episode of the podcast and got on a Bitcoin for Beginners Clubhouse, the Cafe Bitcoin thing, and answered Bitcoin questions for 3 hours until like 1 o'clock in the morning. Then went back and finished the podcast at about 2:30. And I was up pretty late and I'm a little bit tired, but outside of that, it was just a normal day in Bitcoin.
So I always thought it was cool, man. When you first entered the space, I heard an interview with you and Stefan Livera, who's actually coming on the show tomorrow, which is going to be cool. But I'd like to go back and listen to some of your old podcasts. But what's the story when you came into space and that you wanted to, to put this stuff to audio? I think it's cool. Like when I started doing some of the memes, it was mostly because all the Bitcoin memes, if you go and Googled it or search for it, sucked. And we now have a great meme community out there. The meme community is strong in Bitcoin, especially this year. But what made you think of putting all this stuff into audio?
Because I wanted it. I was an internet technician at the time. So I was driving around in a van with a van full of tools, just fixing internet stuff. I listen to podcasts and audiobooks religiously. I mean, like I would go to a location and I would talk to whoever I needed to talk to just to do it. And then I'd just headphones are in, I do my thing. Like there were literally like 10 or 15 minutes, spread out throughout the day in which I wasn't listening to something. Like it was like I would get in 9 solid hours a day of just listening to stuff. And I didn't have that much time when I got home to really explore Bitcoin. And honestly, the podcast space back then was kind of crap. There were like 3 options and I would kill that content in a day, and then it'd be 2 weeks before I really had anything good on Bitcoin. And then one of my favorite podcasts actually was Plan B with, what was it? Eric and somebody. And they only did like a run of like 9 months or 10 months or something like that. Mm-hmm. That was like one of my favorite podcasts. And they left. And it was just hard to find content, but there were great articles. Like there was really good stuff written down to dig into. And there was some really in-depth stuff like Nick Szabo's stuff, the Nakamoto Institute was collecting all sorts of great stuff, but I just didn't have the time to sit down and read it. I wanted to be able to listen to it. And I tried a bunch of the things like, the dictation stuff, or the I guess that's what it's called. I think that's the reverse, but where the robot would read it to you, and it was awful. It pained me a little bit, but I still did listen to it a lot like that. And then one day, for about 2 years, I was just like, man, I wish somebody would just read these on a podcast. They would just literally just make audible versions of them. And then after like 2 years, I was just like, I got enough time at the end of the day that I could go home and sit down and just record them and just publish them somewhere just for the hell of it. And my brother and I had been talking about doing a podcast for like 4 years up to that point about all sorts of different things. And we just procrastinated. And finally one day, like one of the first like 10 episodes or whatever, I would like go in and I'd sit down on my bed and like hold my phone up to my face and just read it off of my iPad. And that was like how I started the podcast. And then, it went from like 3 downloads to like 80 and like 100. And then like people would like respond to me on Twitter and be like, oh, I really like this little thing that you made and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh, all right. So this might be useful to somebody, and started devoting a little bit more time and resources and stuff to it. And then after about 30 episodes in, I finally had the balls to give my own opinion about it. And most of the time I would do like 20 or 30 minutes worth of commentary, just ranting, but then I would get real nervous and I'd be like, man, I was just probably just saying stupid crap. And I would delete it all and then just post the article. And just too self-conscious. And then that was it. That was it. You know, well, 3.5 years later, here we are, and it keeps growing.
Guy, is it realistic that you were on Adam Meister in 2017? And shout out to Adam Meister for keeping a lot of people on the righteous path of Bitcoin only.
Yep.
Would that be realistic that you were on Adam Meister 2017? And we lost your audio.
Oh, sorry. Back in 2017 might be a little early. I don't know. I don't know. I did have the show. I mean, the show was around in 2017, without a doubt. But I don't think I would have been known well enough then to go on that show.
So then it was 2018. In that case, that also does fit this. You know, like the memory. And I'm pretty sure I was walking home from from work. And listening to you being interviewed and explaining this whole thing about how you take a great written content, the best written content within Bitcoin that explains so well to people, and putting it on audio for the people that want audio instead of reading a book or an article. And so I remember that, and I really love you doing this. It's a great service to the community. I was wondering, is there any issue ever where someone's written a book, they make money on selling the book, and then you just put it on audio? Is there a royalty issue there, or?
Well, I've not done it with a book without explicit permission. So like Knut Svanholm's first book, Sovereignty Through Mathematics, is totally on the show. I mean, we put it on Audible too. But it's fully available on the show. But everything that I've read on the show is publicly available. Like it's posted somewhere. And for the first, it's funny, I went through these periods of like the first like 50 or so episodes. I was small enough that I didn't care about asking permission. You know, I just did it. Like I figured I'm gonna have 50 listeners, you know, like nobody's gonna care. And then after it started kind of getting big enough to make sense that like, okay, you know, people might know about this, even the author might be aware of it, this has happened, I started reaching out. And I had like this big chart of every author I've reached out to, and I would ask everybody. And basically across the board, everybody was totally okay with it. Everybody was actually ecstatic. It was like, oh, that's awesome. I'd love to have an audio version of my article, right? And because like I wasn't trying to keep people from going to the article or the author. In fact, just the opposite. I was trying to let people know and be able to listen to the article who weren't going to be able to read it. I wanted to add to the article's audience, not subtract. And so for like 150 episodes and stuff, I was very diligent about asking permission for every single one. And then it got to a point where I had never even had even a questionable response, and it just felt like a waste of time. And now I've just gone back to ask forgiveness. If anybody has ever got a problem with it, I always tag them. I always link back to it. I don't see how they don't know that I've done it. So if anybody ever says, I can't believe you did an audio version of it, take this down immediately, I'll just be like, all right, I'll take it down. But I stopped asking permission after about episode 200.
Well, and that's what I'm thinking here. It's not like you're doing some of these major authors' works. I mean, you're talking about people that are trying to get their message out anyway. Any publicity for them is free publicity. And hey, Knut is a lover of this show, man. He gate crashes all the time. He was on here. We talked to him just like 2 weeks ago, and we had him playing acoustic guitar by the end. But yeah, if he ever gives you any trouble, you just let us know, man. We'll set him straight.
Now, Knut sends me all of his stuff. Every time he writes a new article, he DMs it to me. He's like, if you want to make an audio version, just so you know, I'm fine. Let me know.
Yeah, he sees it, man. He's like, it's free advertising. I'll get Guy Swann to make an audio version. Brilliant.
Right. And I would say, if you haven't seen Knut Svanholm play guitar, on his on an appearance where he just like randomly grabs his guitar and starts singing Bitcoin songs to us that he had made himself. And it sounds like Beatles. If you haven't seen that, you haven't seen Knut Svanholm on a podcast. I'll say that.
He's a good dude.
And
So,
played guitar in about 10 years. I could probably still pick it up and knock out some classical tunes or whatever, but I bet the strings on that thing sound horrible downstairs.
So let's do a 2020 reset, guy. You know, when you look back at this now, you go back and I just retweeted today because I hadn't really thought about it, but I took, we got a stimulus check here in the U.S. at $1,200, and I just on a lark just said, you know what, like everything else, I'll pile into Bitcoin anyway, but I want to keep a separate watch on this, and yeah, $1,200 is now 8,000, and that just shows how far we've come with the pandemic, as everything unfolded with Michael Saylor. So take us back, like if you can go back to just even March, we're at what, $4,800 or $5,000 Bitcoin. How did the year play out for you? What are as you're looking back? Obviously, this is the year of Saylor. What's your view of 2020?
Kind of in a broad sense, we're watching the cracks really form, right? We've been aware that everything was out of balance and that these cracks were inevitable. And this bizarre pandemic that we're in has really just shown just what a mess we're in. Just what an unbelievable imbalance across the board. And I think this is being leaned on 10 times more, given so much more leverage, literally as a distraction from the fact that everything's going sideways. I think I mean, take this what it is, but I don't think the pandemic, I mean, if you look at the overall mortality of 2020, it's not even remotely out of the normal. Like it's basically what it was in 2019. Why were we able to go to concerts in 2019 and in 2020 we can't? And somehow every single time, and just think about it in the general sense of what would happen if in 2018 we had 24/7 news reports about every single person who died from the flu or cancer or AIDS or whatever it is. And every single time it happened on Twitter, somebody retweeted it and it got 100,000 likes and retweets. It would look like the world was going to shit. It would look like because literally there are millions of people dying. But, at the end of the year, it would still be the same mortality as it was last year. And everybody would come up with excuses. You don't think people would explain that away? That they'd be like, oh, it's because we changed our behaviors, or we did this, that, or the other. It's because we actually properly responded to the pandemic of cancer and the flu. So they'll excuse that their view of it is accurate, and the reason the numbers don't line up is because somehow we fixed it, even though they'll say this year was the worst year ever and millions of people died who wouldn't have died otherwise. And it's like, you understand that those two things can't be true at the same time, and that's what this whole thing feels like to me, is that I think we'll look back. Any sensible person that looks back on this in 5 to 10 years will see this as a information phenomena, not a disease. The more interesting story is how we spread information, is how we take in information, and the fact that if we die hard focus on one thing, how much we can modify our view of the world. We can think about how the state of the world is, and simply not see the truth. And the truth is, our financial system is collapsing.
Yeah.
And this is being covered up with news about everybody who's coughing. And Bitcoin's just there. Bitcoin is continuing to survive and continuing to work. And it's an exit valve on this. You know, like you go back to like the great financial crisis in 2008, and there was no exit valve big enough to handle all of that, handle the exit, right? There was just no way to take in all of that information and hold it in an alternative. There was no exit. There was no door out of the mess. And now there is. And people with significant amounts of money, capital, and authority are realizing that. And I think 2020 is the turn. This is the true beginning of the fourth turning. Going back to Brandon Quittam's article on Bitcoin and the Rhythms of History and the first, second, and third and fourth turnings. I love that theory. I really need to get back into that book, The Fourth Turning. But of those generational shifts, and I think we are really like, this was the turn, the move into the fourth turning, and this is the beginning of the shift to a Bitcoin standard. This is the beginning of a true shift out of these massive, manipulated, misallocated systems that have run their course. They are leaning too far, and the only thing they can do is fall. And the best thing we can do is get people in an orderly fashion out of the building as fast as possible, because the cracks are there, they're getting bigger, and we just need to get out.
Right. I just want to say real quick, Pubby, I'll happy to give you a word to you, that I want to let the viewers know that Restream is having some problem. It hasn't been loading chat messages for me for like 6 minutes. So I can't put anything up on the screen. I'm so sorry. I can't even see what you guys are chatting, which is an important part of this show normally. So I'm sorry, guys. You're gonna have to have fun staying self-entertained.
Open up in YouTube, man. You'll see it there.
I can see it there, Pubby, but I can't throw it on the screen. I need that.
Well, sure. Well, you may not be able to throw it on the screen, but you can bring it up in conversation.
Yeah, that's true.
You see a good one?
Yeah, let me go.
Yeah, that's true. As I said earlier, by the way, Guy, I had two important questions. One was yesterday. The second one is, will we see you at Bitcoin 2021 conference in Miami, June 4 and June 5 this year? Pubby and I will be there.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Awesome.
And I thought I wasn't going to be able to make it a BitBlock Boom, but it looks like we'll be doing that as well. So, and if Hodl does Baltic Honey Badger, I never got to go to that one. I really hope they do. I'm going to try to make it this year if they do it.
Yeah, in Riga. That'd be an awesome one. Yeah. Damn.
So right now my lineup is Unconfiscatable. I think I'm going to be on a panel for that one. Bitcoin 2021, I have no obligations there, so I'm probably just gonna be running around with a mic and sticking it in people's faces, and getting drunk. And then BitBlock Boom, I've got a workshop making sense of Lightning, so I'll get to blab about Lightning, and we'll tinker with things and probably set up wallets and stuff for about 3 hours before the conference, and then I can just cruise to the rest of the conference and hang out.
So I'll jump in with 2020, and of course we've talked Michael Saylor ad nauseum on this show, Giga Chad. But when you woke up and saw Elon Musk and actually finally came through with a $1.5 billion buy, that is a damn game changer. I was listening today, American Hodl and Preston Pishron with Peter McCormick talking about this, and it has some great points. Damn, the first major domino to fall. What were your thoughts when you saw that?
Michael Saylor?
No, with Elon.
Oh, with Elon, just recently.
Yeah, just recently. What were your thoughts when you saw that? Because, I mean, look, we all love Saylor, but it's usually the Bitcoin community only that knows Saylor.
That wasn't surprising. I mean, I was like, oh shit, Elon finally went in. But it's funny, that tweet, I think it's best summed up with Elon's tweet. He says, in retrospect, it was inevitable. Like that was exactly my feelings on it. I was like, yeah, well, like we're here. And I'd been waiting for Elon was such a perfect test case too. He is that character that like he does he moves to the beat of his own drum, as you will, in the if you will, in like the corporate sphere. He's you know, all the other CEOs or whatever are so focused on making sure they toe the line and that they're respectable CEOs and they look like professional business players and all this stuff. And Elon's just like whatever, you know, he just does his own thing. And because of that, he's pretty well known as being contrarian. So he and Bitcoin always kind of seemed like an easy fit. And if anybody was going to just go see, you know, like just go explore it and then randomly tweet about it, that was Elon, right? So when he finally did it, it was just like, yeah, it's about time. But I think Apple will be on board before the end of the year. I think it's probably in the next month or two. Genuinely, like I really think it's very soon.
Yeah, those are rumors, Anders. Not to jump in, guy, but I heard the same thing.
That's just my opinion. Like I think Apple's been positioning for a while. I think every major tech company has internal talks about it. Period. If they don't, they're stupid. You know, Apple hasn't done. There's no way there aren't people at Apple who have been watching Square like a hawk for a year and a half, at least. And their quarterly reports are insane. So anybody who understands what that quarterly report says is going, why the hell aren't we doing this? And now go back 5 months and look at MicroStrategy stock. Just because they bought Bitcoin, just because they have a Bitcoin position, they went from $117 to a share to $1,150. Like, no CEO worth their salt, no boardroom, no corporate boardroom that is anything above worth trash isn't talking about this. I think the next like 4 or 5 months, we're going to see the dominoes fall. Like it's just going to be company after company after company. And it'll be a month after they did it. Like Apple's probably buying right now, or they've started a couple of weeks ago, and they're going to announce it in a month and a half. Right. Or at the end of the first quarter or something like that. But that's where I think we are.
Yeah. Cause you talk about the pressure being on, it's not the ones that even saw Saylor buying at, you know, his first one, $11,000 Bitcoin. A lot of people, that's only in August. In August, his first 2 buys was $11,000 damn Bitcoin. But since December, you've seen it go from 20,000 to over doubling in price. These CEOs have just got, I mean, they got to be all over themselves trying to get in now.
Yeah. That's something I was pointing out. I guess it was on Clubhouse, maybe. I don't remember where I brought this up. Maybe it was on the show. I don't know. I talk about Bitcoin way too much.
Maybe when you were on CNBC and Squawk Talk or something like that.
I'm still waiting for their call. I don't understand what the hell they're up to.
Right.
But is that so? Michael Saylor took out first their first buy was $450 million worth. And then they did the $600 and something million bonds for the company. And so their total allocation was like 1.14, I think it was, billion dollars. They have like 75,000 Bitcoin. Elon Musk, and this is all this year, right? This is like months ago. Like this is very recent news still, particularly when you're talking about like the corporate environment and like the speed at which those size institutions move. And so they bought like 75,000 Bitcoin. Elon Musk just made a significantly larger investment from rather than 1.1 billion, they put in $1.5 billion, and he got like 37,000.
Exactly. Yeah.
So he got like half the Bitcoin for a significantly higher price. And there are going to be a lot of people who are going, I don't want to be the one to make a $5 billion investment, a $10 billion investment, and only get 9,000 Bitcoin out of it. And I think that's absolutely, the phase that we are moving into with Bitcoin. Like we're going to hundreds of thousands of dollars. It just doesn't, the addressable market just with Bitcoin as a network, like even ignoring the fact that I think they're going to eat treasury bonds across the world, alive, just obliterate the market for treasuries. I think that's the market that's really going to just bleed. But just looking at like the volume that Bitcoin could do as it becomes the dominant form of remittance. I mean, look at Strike. Like this is the death of Blockbuster. This is VoIP killing analog phone all over again. Western Union is not. It's not like Western Union can lower their fees and do some little trick to compete with Strike. They're literally going to go out of business. The business model of making money off of remittance is going to vanish. They need to have their Western Union simply needs to do something else. Like they this year. No, I totally agree. Bitcoin. This is actually what I was talking about last night as I was recording the podcast. Ryan Gentry posted a tweet with Ross Stevens from Ridge, the Stone Ridge letter that I read. He was talking with Michael Saylor, and he was talking about Bitcoin's chapter 2, and I really like that framing, so I took that and ran with it. But that Bitcoin as a network is going to make it so that, particularly with Lightning Network liquidity and the economics involved there, the incentives to build that out, liquidity is going to be massive on the Lightning Network. I think the Lightning Network is going to be one of the biggest freaking financial networks on the planet. I think that is the foundation of a new financial network, or a new financial system, excuse me. And it is going to make money flow just like 20, 30 years ago. Suddenly you just didn't have a long distance fee. Suddenly you just didn't, that you could call. You didn't have to know if they were in Canada or if they were in the UK. Like you just dialed the number like that. I think that's about to happen to money. Like the remittance markets, Forex markets are $5 trillion a day, in volume.
I just want to explain, because you brought up Strike, and that is one of the most important things happening this year. Well, let's say in January, because in February, one of the most important things were Tesla saying they bought $1.5 billion worth of Bitcoin. But Strike is an app you can have on your phone. It's connected to your bank account. For no money, no fee, you can transfer money from your bank account to your mobile phone. You can send any amount of money you want across the world. Like I can send 5 US cents to my mother in Denmark, and she receives it in Danish crowns and can put it into her bank account. There's no fee. This is the end of the gatekeeping abuse from the financial institution that are delaying our transfers 2-3 days. They take a cut on several percent on the exchange rate, blah, blah, blah. No fee, and it's instant. And also you can use Strike to, for instance, because it's based on the Lightning Network, which is sitting on top of the Bitcoin blockchain, you can send sats as well. If you want to send sats to someone, you can do that. But, so I was right now, Strike is in US, and I think it's Q2 and Q3 this year, it will come out in the remaining currencies around the world. And that's when wire transfers that, by the way, on my corporate bank account, when I receive a payment from abroad, I pay $15 just to receive it. And then there's the exchange rate, abuse. It's
Andrew, let's be honest. You've never received one payment from abroad. You have to pay them. Says, look, the stuff Jack Bauer we got to have on the show, absolutely brilliant what he's doing.
I've been bugging the hell out of him. He keeps saying like, "No, we'll do it." But like I'm busy right now. Hold up.
But to absolutely destroyed the Swiss system in one fell swoop. Oh, by the way, sorry, Western Union. And that's a great thing with some of my travels is when you find workers from every part of the world, wherever you go. And people don't realize in the U.S. or Western ones, yeah, you make your salary, but they don't realize the ones that go overseas to make their salaries and they send their money home. They're the one from their family that can go out, actually have well, what you and I would call like a service worker job. But for them, man, they struck gold, but they were losing 20-25% just transmitting that money back. So to see this, it is a game changer, man. If that's not great for humanity, I don't know what is. I think it's brilliant what he's done.
And the fees and the time.
Yep.
The time is such a huge cost. Just to move within the US. Like I have two banks that I shit you not are straight across the street from each other. But when I want to move from one to the other, if I don't physically drive there, withdraw cash, and then literally go and deposit the cash across the street, which thank God it's not 20 minutes away and it's only like 11. But still, that's a pain in the ass. The only reason I go is because I can get a coffee along the way. But if I don't do that, it takes 3 business days to go from one bank to the next, because they have to, at 5 o'clock that afternoon, the local bank settles with the reserve bank. And then at 5 o'clock the next day, they do all their debits and credits to settle and pay out to the other local bank. And then at the 5 o'clock the third day, they settle finally. And finally, it's in my account. And can still be reversed, but I at least have access to it. That is locally. That is locally. That system is so painfully antiquated. And go back to the Forex example. Like we're talking about instantly, and for no fee, moving from dollars to euro across the Atlantic Ocean. Forex markets, this is what Forex markets are for, right? Is to hedge and make large currency trades. This is why merchant fees are a thing. Like this is the end of merchant fees. Think about the entire import-export business using instant free settlement so that Apple can do business with people in China and they don't have to purchase some giant hedge for a 2-month period to make sure that one currency doesn't go against them. They can literally just do the deal and swap the currency as soon as the deal has happened. And that Forex market is only open 5 days a week.
Yeah, exactly.
For the trades that they need to do, even the ones that are completely like wrapped in and they have their workflow and they have all of their things, changing that stuff is hard. Like those are infrastructure level changes that you have to change how you do business. That's tough, but business doesn't close on the weekends. The Forex markets do. The two companies that do take advantage of this over the weekend forces everybody else to do it. It forces everybody to do it. And as soon as you've built that workflow for the weekend, why the hell are you going to go back for the rest of the week? As soon as it's liquid enough, as soon as the volume is there, and as soon as you start using, because the Bitcoin volatility, like in the example that like Ross Stevens gives, the transfer is so instant. You're just using it as a way to get money from here to there. And because you have a liquid euro to Bitcoin network, euro to Bitcoin market, and then you have a liquid USD to Bitcoin market, understand liquidity is the value here. That's what makes Bitcoin able to do this, is that you can do it instantly. And Bitcoin can connect anywhere on the globe and any currency. That is only going to build out. As soon as people start using it, the very liquidity of doing this shift will stabilize the Bitcoin price. It will make it so buying $1 billion worth of Bitcoin doesn't move the order books, because there's $1 billion just in currency swaps happening on the other side of it. There's $3 billion. There's $100 billion worth of currency swaps. I think we will be talking about this in trillions of dollars before the end of this year. I think it will happen so unbelievably fast, and the pressure to build out and bootstrap liquidity on the Lightning Network is going to be phenomenal. This year, and I mean, I've been prepping for this year for 3 years. Like, I've been thinking this is when it was going to happen. And now in like 5 months, it's just really kicked off. And I still just think we're getting started.
Guy, I want to ask you because you said that it wasn't just rumors that Apple were looking into buying. You said you believe they will be buying, and that makes me wonder how high you think this Bitcoin bull run can go, and what timing you have in your mind.
So I've been wondering. We've got a pretty set pattern in Bitcoin. And usually as a pattern really gets cemented is about the time it gets broken. And that's the 4-year cycle, right? I don't think 300,000 plus is remotely out of the question for this cycle, but because of, you know, the hype cycle, like the speculative bubble in 2017 was explicitly a retail bubble. Like there were no, you know, hedge funds making huge positions. There weren't people pulling off $20 billion on from exchanges to cold storage. This is a very different subset of buyers. They're holding for the long term. They're not going to make a 50% profit in 2 months and then dump it. Like that's not what MicroStrategy is doing, right? And I think this is true of just the entire space in general, of the whole institutional money that's coming into this. Because of that, I'm inclined to think, or at least I have fun musing on this, is that we're going to have a bit of a fake out. Kind of like in 2013, 2014, is we're going to have a fake bear market where we have an extended drawdown and everybody's like, okay, so now we're going to have a bear market until the next halving. And then only actually lasts for 5 or 6 months. And then we go back into the bull run because the capital allocation and the need for Bitcoin will grow so strong at that point that people will just front run the fact that there's another halving in 3 years. I'm inclined to think that we could have the next cycle, the 2024 cycle, in like late 2022, 23. That like, I mean, we're ahead of the, like looking back just now, we're kind of leading the stock to flow already right now. And I just think that front running is going to continue. And when we're talking about central banks replacing treasuries on their balance sheet with some Bitcoin, and institutions and hedge funds all across the world having to have some allocation, like that is a feedback loop that is just, that's a phenomenally powerful feedback loop. And so then I think we're looking at 500,000 to 1 million, and maybe prior to 2024.
And that's what I want to get your views on, because you know, everyone knows, you know, Plan B, stock to flow. I think it's a fantastic model he offered up to the Bitcoin space, even to the fact that he came in at one of the lowest points of Bitcoin in that cycle. But to me, this is the escape velocity cycle, FOMO hodl, because after, you know, an Elon Musk, after these banks, you can't be that CEO or CFO that doesn't have it on your balance sheet. You have to put it there, because if you don't, and it does what it's been doing for years, you're fired. You're just fired right away. So this is the one for me. It's go time. We're out of here. I think it's hilarious that you say 300,000, close to 288, as Plan B has said. It's tracking for him. You know, he's doing well. But yeah, I think 500,000 this year, sort of being bearish. But yeah, where else can they put their money? There's nowhere else to go.
There's no yield anywhere. There's no yield. No. If they put it in treasuries, they're going to get a guaranteed loss.
Yes.
A loss.
Yes. Yep.
Like there's nobody, like all you have to do is the only reason that you don't put it in Bitcoin instead is because you're scared. Like that's it. There's no yield. Like there's no risk assessment, like legitimate rational risk assessment that makes you put it in treasuries instead. Treasuries are garbage. And it's like $100 trillion market just for treasuries. Like, it's insane. And then you're looking at real estate, which has a massive monetary premium that's going to bleed into Bitcoin. You're looking at gold that's still got a massive monetary premium that's going to bleed into Bitcoin. You got stocks and equities. Stocks and equities, P&L like ratios, and the whole model for valuating stocks is garbage now because everybody's using it to park value. It's using it to get around inflation. Everything is overpriced. Everything is overpriced. I mean, for crying out loud, the economy is in shambles and the stock market's gone up like 50% or something stupid. And that's going to exit. That's going to bleed back in as soon as people realize that there is a safe, independent, apolitical, international monetary asset to park money in that is actually secure, that is actually legitimate, and is fully liquid and available any country in the world. They're going to hold that. They're going to be absolutely stupid not to. That just, the addressable market there is just phenomenal. I like, if we cross 1 million in the next 2 years, that would be shocking that it happened so quickly. But then at the same time, it would be like, in retrospect, it was inevitable.
Yeah. So
Nice.
Guy, are you saying there won't be US dollars by the end of this decade? Is that what you're saying?
Oh, well, no. I'm saying, and this is something that I've felt for a while, that we've kind of framed incorrectly how the transition will happen, is that I actually think the currency itself, the fiat currency, isn't actually as deeply at risk as things like treasuries and other store of value assets. And the reason is because you look at like the actual like M1 money supply, and it's like in the couple of $1 trillion, right? It's like $4 trillion or $5 trillion or something like that now. And I don't know, they printed a lot and threw money at the economy, so it's probably a little bit different, but it's like right around that range, right? Fiat currency is backed by real money. Nobody actually saves in fiat currency anymore. They save in fiat denominated assets. Like, people don't have massive savings accounts. So I don't think until Bitcoin actually becomes a unit of account, which is the last chapter of this thing, I don't think fiat will actually bleed as badly as those other options, as like treasuries and stuff. And as soon as central banks start putting it on their balance sheet, it's actually going to prop up the fiat currencies. It's actually going to be the only thing that saves fiat currencies. And I think first what's going to happen is that Bitcoin is going to become the infrastructure of a global independent financial market. But on the surface, it will still look like fiat. In the same way, the analogy I use is in the same way that your grandmother one day in the late 90s picked up her analog phone that was hanging in the kitchen, like corded. She thought she was still using a corded phone, but then it just went to their local node, switched to VoIP, shot over to California, and then they switched it back to analog and sent it to her other old lady friend that she called, and they picked it up on their analog phone in the kitchen. They both thought they were still using the same analog system, but both were actually using the internet. I think that's what will happen to dollars and euros, is people will still think they're using euros and dollars, and on the front face, that's what it is. That's it, denominated in dollars, but that it will only move around the world. It will only be cheap. It will only not have international remittance fees, because all of it's being run on a Bitcoin foundation. And that will actually keep it alive or keep the facade of fiat currency running for maybe even a decade. I don't know the time frame for that. Like, if you look back, like the Roman Empire had collapsed, but it was like 80 years before people actually recognized that the Roman Empire had collapsed.
But I would say that news and information and value traveled a lot slower back then. Like, I have no doubt.
Oh, without a doubt. Yeah.
Dollar is gone 1 decade from now. I have no doubt. Because like you're saying, like, it will run on top of a Bitcoin network. But when my mother or someone from Denmark want to send me money, and now I'm just saying money, I'm not saying which type of money, if they're sending it to me from Stripe, which is what they will be using, I will send them a Lightning Network address and not my Strike handle, which would mean I would receive it as dollars. I would and I think that, I know we're early, the three of us wanting sats instead of fiat currency, but every single day that number increases until it's everyone, I think. But hey, Puppy, what's your take?
My take on what?
Okay.
When will fiat currency go away? What's the time frame?
No, listen. They're gonna they're gonna push that shit out as long as they can. I'm curious to see. The one that scares me is when they go to the CB, the collateralized dollars, because guess what? They're gonna be able to control that you take it out. They want you to take the money out and just spend it. That's the worst part of it all. They can pretend to tie whatever their dollar is, their fiat unit, or they'll say it's tied to Bitcoin, but it won't. They're gonna lie to the people for many years. So I'm one of those people that will just buy Bitcoin because like Sailor has always said, I'm holding this stuff for 100 years. He doesn't care. Literally, I mean that's different than it becoming a medium of exchange. Holding something for 100 years. That's not a medium of exchange. That's not a unit of account. He knows it's the ultimate store of value. That was a game changer for me this year. When he says, and you're going to see corporations do this. You know what? We're going to put this as our new reserve asset, and we're not going to sell it. I mean, you want to talk about the ultimate hodlers? Damn, yeah. I guess they'll take loans against it. It's more like digital land to me at this point.
Yeah. And I still think there will be a trend. I think out of the need to survive, central banks will put Bitcoin on their balance sheet, and whether or not, I mean, I kind of agree, whether or not it's a lie or whether or not they try to posture it, there will be kind of this this transitional period, kind of like for instance, like MicroStrategy put Bitcoin on their balance sheet, right? And what happened to the MicroStrategy stock? It 10x'd.
Yep.
And that will be the perception of a fiat currency that suddenly says we're going to be partially backed by Bitcoin. I think that same thing will happen. Suddenly that fiat currency will be like the fiat currency because now the government backs it with this amazing Bitcoin asset. But the feedback loop to actually get people to use Bitcoin and to adopt Bitcoin, the asset, everybody will hold it as a savings vehicle. Everybody. And in addition is that when finally the infrastructure is built out for it to take over like the Forex and remittance markets and the import-export markets, we'll be 1 or 2 steps away from a Bitcoin denomination when Bitcoin finally becomes the dominant global unit of account. Obviously, the other, I think, has to come first. I mean, it just has to be liquid enough, which, takes that's going to take 5 or 6 years just by itself, just to build out that level of market economy with it. And denominations are also hard to shift mentally, right? Like that's not an easy thing. I mean, we wouldn't be using traditional, we'd use 12 inches to a foot and 3 feet to a 3 feet to a yard. I mean, like the traditional measurement systems is insane, but that denomination, that relevance is such a important mental totem, like that Schelling point, that like when somebody tells me, oh, it's like 5 kilometers away, I'm like, all right, so how many miles is that? Like as if somehow 5,280 feet is a better reference for me than 1,000 meters, when obviously the metric system is way simpler and more intuitive. I think we'll have that same problem with money. But as the fiat currency breaks down and as the fiat financial system becomes more and more volatile, it makes less and less sense. That totem becomes less of a totem, right? It doesn't become a good reference point in and of itself. And at the end of the day, I just think there will be this transitional period where fiat appears to have a second rising, because of Bitcoin as an asset that backs it as value. But I think that will just be kind of the last little poof before before it really disappears. Kind of like that 2 steps forward, 1 step back, 2 steps forward, 1 step back that we do like with decentralization and these cycles. I think the 2 steps forward will be Bitcoin becoming the foundation of the financial infrastructure. The 1 step back will be the reappearance that fiat actually survives because it's backed by gold and Bitcoin. And then there will be another 2 steps forward. And that will just happen on a larger cycle, maybe like a decade period.
What I think is cool is when you have, someone like say, or 75,000 Bitcoin just pulled off the exchange for 100. It's like your own personal boating accident. 75,000 Bitcoin gone for 100 years. He just admitted that you'll never get it from me. I'll hold it. I'll leverage against it.
Not getting mine. Nope.
You're not getting mine. And that's why this year with the using this as a corporate reserve asset was so fascinating to me. Is the next one's coming in, they're not selling either, man. No one's going to be giving it up. So wait until the next halving. Wait until that one. Dear God, from 900 Bitcoin a day to 450, and you have more and more people coming in. That's going to be outrageous.
Yeah, and the inflation rate of Bitcoin is going to drop to I think it'll be 0.7%.
Below below gold. We're I think on gold standard.
We're already
right now.
below gold.
Yeah,
we're already
just
below
slightly.
Gold.
Yep. Anders, you got something important to say?
Yeah, I'm just super excited that the bug in Restream went away, and I once again can throw the chat on the screen. It's honestly, when I didn't have the chat here for 20 minutes, I realized how great a part of the show is. So what we're trying to do here, Guy, is not run a one-way broadcast, but have a dialogue with our lit chat. Yeah, and they have questions. They give us shit. We put it on the screen. I don't care. They may have take a piss also on our guests. We have, as long as it's done in a fun way, we don't censor. So I know a question that usually comes from the chat is, what is your favorite Bitcoin meme?
Oh, you're asking me what my favorite Bitcoin meme is?
Yeah. Sorry.
Well, I like my own Bitcoin Matrix meme. Probably my. God, that's a good question. The one that was made recently. I'm a big fan of video memes. I like motion memes. I like GIF memes, and I like video memes. One that I just absolutely loved, and it kind of made me want to go play League of Legends again. Was the League of Legends cinematic that had like Michael Saylor and Elon Musk, and then what's that character's name? The one that oh God, she's got like the wand. God, I used to play this game for hours and hours and hours. It's like 5 years ago. I just absolutely love that. And then when she shoots the big thing to the sky and it says, "In retrospect, it was inevitable." Now that I got an absolute kick out of that one. That's probably the best one recently that just had me all jacked.
Yeah, I had to look up the League of Legends stuff there. Especially that particular one. I think I retweeted it. It was very well done. But I think in general, sometimes when we're looking at memes, is the sort of the ideas behind it. This year, Printer Goes Burr was absolutely brilliant. To me, Have Fun Staying Poor. Also, what's funny was I'm watching even people within this space, but people outside. Oh my God, look at these Bitcoiners. Have fun staying poor. They're so rude. They have no idea of the meaning behind it. It was more of a shot at everyone that has just dismissed Bitcoin for 5 years, 4 years, 10 years.
I have to admit,
have fun staying poor.
I have to admit, I love the have stay. I talked about this in Winning Hearts and Minds for Bitcoin, the Andy Edstrom and Peter McCormick piece in the Guys Take Afterward.
Yep.
I think have fun staying poor is being overused. I think it's being used as a crutch. I love that meme, but I don't want us to cheapen it, because to somebody who is arguing disingenuously that is arguing in bad faith and is being completely dismissive, Peter Schiff has earned have fun staying poor without a doubt. But I've seen it used too many times when someone just asks a question and clearly just doesn't understand something, and then everybody's jump in because it's fun, have fun staying poor.
I agree.
I don't want to cheapen it because it will get overused and then it will die. It will just kind of become less interesting. And I think that's a really great one to, after you answer legitimate questions. And if somebody is in bad faith, clearly just trying to shit on Bitcoin, then you have fun staying poor.
But that's and that's where it came from. I mean, honestly, that's where that
was its origins. That's how we should use it.
Hey, I tell you, and hey, if you ever have Udi on your show, man, Udi's fantastic, by the way, and he has started that. But he's absolutely right. You get to a point where it's like, you know what, we can't explain. And this is, why I think it's so brilliant is because it comes from even the mindset of Satoshi Nakamoto himself. If you don't, I don't have the time to explain to you, basically. Okay, I don't have the time. Move on. And this thing, you've been hating on Bitcoin for so long. Have fun staying poor. So it's from that same ethos in my mind, and I love it.
No, it definitely is. And I actually did have Udi on Shitcoin Insider. We had an episode all about ETH and ETH 2.0. And I think I put it in the Bitcoin Audible feed, if I'm not mistaken. We've only done 4 episodes of Shitcoin Insider, but that's my toxic happy hour, right? Like that's my get to just rail against altcoins and shitcoins and my guilty pleasure, if you will. But
it's what we do, baby.
I have a lot of fun with that one.
it's what we do. And we don't have any interest to consider. So we can just say it like we feel it. This is the pub. You enter the pub. We're having a beer, a vodka, a whiskey, a bourbon, whatever, and we just have fun. I have a question to you, Guy, from the chat. Most people know that you are a Swanster. So what do you do for Swan Bitcoin?
I don't do anything for Swan except shill them. I love everybody over there on the team. And basically know them all personally. And we did work together for some time. They sponsored the show for a while, and we've just always back and forth helped each other where we could. But I did not start or do anything. The Swan name is just total coincidence, and I just am a big fan of Swan. So that's pretty much that.
That also reminds me, one of our good friends, one that helped, I wouldn't say get it started, but Daniel Princey himself, man. I heard your show with him. Daniel Prince, such a good guy in the space, for one. And this is many months ago. And, I've just been putting out a few memes, and he literally just jumped into my feed one day and said, hey, when can we have a beer and talk Bitcoin? And Labra Hodl, if you're watching and not stealing my memes right now, a shout out to you.
He's not watching. He was tired of you stealing memes.
Yeah, of course. But anyway, he just jumped on the show just out of nowhere. Like it was in a pub. And then when Anders would call, we took our conversations. I was usually hang out in the pub. So for sound quality reasons, the pub has transitioned into other places so we don't get more complaints. Here we are.
Yeah, here we are. And then there was one.
Dogs are going nuts. I think I got a package.
Oh.
It's actually my equity check. I'm about to buy a lot of Bitcoin. I think it's here.
Yeah.
Everybody in the chat, live viewers, quickly smash by and front run the fact that Guy Swan will have a
Don't you dare
stimulus check. Let's send it above 50K. So Guy Swan, he's running for his stimulus check right now. I'll put him back on as soon as I can see he's back. Oh, and he's back. That was quick. How was the stimmies? You got the stimmies? You got the stimulus check, guys. Swan.
No, I got I've been trying to refinance my house and pull equity out of the house because we bought the house with like literally nothing down, and just paid like closing costs on the loan. And good God, how loud is that? Is that can you y'all can hear these stupid
We're
dogs
fine.
going crazy? Okay, you good?
Again,
We're in the
I'm used to talking from a pub, man. This is nothing. This is nothing.
Is that all you got, guys? Swan? Is that all you got? That little noise, a little
that little
in
noise,
the background?
that little just come on, step up your game. But yeah, no. So I've been trying to refinance this stupid thing for I don't know 6 months because my dad was a contractor, and so I worked construction for ages and ages. And the first thing we did, like my brother and I, just completely remodeled the kitchen. I remodeled the bathroom, tore out most of the trim in the house and replaced it with new stuff. I've turned what was we got the foundation dug out and resealed because there was water under the house, which we got it at like a crazy low price because of that. Everything. So we put tons into the house, and I mean, I've added what I guess it was from like 150. I mean, I've added like 40%. No, actually 50%, like a 50% increase in the appraisal of the house value since we got it. And I'm taking that equity out, putting on my monthly obligations are going to go down because I'm refinancing. I'm doing my own little tiny speculative attack against the dollar, right? I'm taking out a lower interest loan and getting rid of my mortgage insurance because I had no equity in the house originally. Then pulling out every bit of equity I can to get back up to the 80% mark. And hopefully in the next couple hours, I can get it into my account. I'm about to, when we get off this, I'm going to drive to the bank, put it in the bank, and then probably smash by, hopefully, I don't know, 20,000, something around there. I can't remember exactly how much for Bitcoin.
I like your speculative attack on the US dollar.
Yeah. Yep. That low interest loan, our bills are going to go down by like $150, and I'm going to have a big stack of cash to put into Bitcoin. I can't imagine how this could possibly, I mean, even if Bitcoin went to zero, my monthly obligations are lower. Like, I got nothing. And Bitcoin is not going to go to zero. I'm probably going to make a fortune on this because Bitcoin will be $100,000 in, I don't know, July probably.
Yeah, I'm absolutely with you, man. You know what's strange, and everyone makes fun of me because every show I will announce when I started and the price I started, which is fine because I want someone that finds a show to realize you can buy at the top, just stick with it. So yeah, December 2017. I'm reading the chat. I'm waiting for them to show up here. Yeah, $17,621, and I think 35 cents was my first stack, and it proceeded to drop for 3 years. Well, for 2 years, but I kept buying, man. The more I learned, the more I loved it. I knew it was right, So I dollar cost average down, and here we are. 3 years later, and it's easy. It's easy, anyone that's got a trade, they got trade in altcoins. You got to be sure you've got one of the 7,000 or 8,000 altcoins out there that you have the good one. Look, Bitcoin's the easy answer. The absolute, you know what? Take a step back, dollar cost average, you'll be fine. I'm living proof. And that's why I do the show, and that's why I announce it, because it's guaranteed. It's guaranteed.
Well, it's just such an easy, just you look at the trajectory, you look at what this technology is actually going to be used for, you look at what a new monetary asset coming into the space actually means, and you can't see anything but how small it is in relation to what its potential is. Like, I mean, it's the greatest investment opportunity in a century, in shit more than that. It just if I buy at 45,000 or I buy at 23,000, really it's just not gonna make that much of a difference. You push this out 3 or 4 years, and It's going to be like saying, oh, I got it at $40 instead of $23. You know, like I just think we've just got that much ahead of us. We are still internet in the 90s.
We are.
And that's what's, I'm going to just jump in here real quick, because for 3 years, it took 3 years from that first purchase to go green again. But now it looks like you're the smartest fucking investor in the world.
No big deal. Yeah.
You bought Bitcoin at 17,000. You're amazing. You know, and that's basically what everyone did that bought it at the top of the last cycle. Or they look like geniuses.
Yeah. And trust me, I know what it's like to buy at the top and lose everything. I did that on one of the early the early spikes.
Yeah, that pump to $15, man, I feel sorry for you. I really do.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Dude, it was like going back like to those days, like you just had no idea if it was going to be there in the morning. You know, like the ability to like just kind of wade through like a horrible collapse today is so much easier. And like the mentality is just so much more not a big deal, you know? Whereas back then, every single thing that happened was life and death, you know?
Yeah.
Like if one major bad event happened in Bitcoin, that was it. Gigs up. Man, this was fun. Can't believe we had what a cool technology that was going to be something, but shit is dead. And trying to hold through that and have some sort of conviction and to think and ignore the 99.99% of people who were saying the thing is dead, it's over, get out, keep the couple of dollars that you can, and look at it for what it is, and the fact that it still had the potential to come back and it could be recovered, that these are cycles, was deeply, deeply difficult and unnerving. I was like looking into investing. Like I actually have a still stacks of journals. Like I had been following the stock market really closely, and I had been keeping records of like 4 or 5 different stocks that I just every single day. This is what happened. This is how the price moved. This was the quarterly reports. I would call into investor relations and like get details and stuff. Like I was real serious about it. I was like, I'm going to invest in the stock market. I'm going to be good at this. And I was also going down the Austrian economics rabbit hole at kind of the same time, and stumbled upon Bitcoin. And then I just FOMO'd in. I was like, all right, this is my investment. This is going to be it. And my brother and I were poor as poor gets. We were living in a trailer. And like, I think it was that same month or the next month, we had our water cut off because we didn't put our payment of the bill bounced, and we were like rushing out to be like, no, please, we're paying it right now over the phone. Please don't cut our water off. And this same one, we had all of the money to our name, and we had just basically FOMO'd in on Bitcoin at the tip top. Like, I mean, just at the very, very top. It was like $32 or something like that. And we had put $1,000 into it, just thought that we found a revolution. And I remember over the period of the next couple of months, and you know, we're broke. $1,000 was a huge deal. That was like, that was money we had to live off of. And it just plummeted.
Whoa. We got to take a step back here.
All right, let's take
because I'm thinking of fucking Friar Haas, man. Friar Haas inspired me. And he bought it in 2013. I think that top was, you literally bought
that was
the
like
top
260 at 33, and it went down to under
Jesus, dude,
like a buck something. And I mean, I'm just the tip top. I remember I did the math on it one day. Like again, this was all the money we had to our name. And it was like my brother and I split it, and I remember doing the math on it one day, and the $1,000 had turned into 72, and it didn't even it wouldn't even have covered our utilities for that month. And I literally, and the whole thing, like everything you read on Reddit, on the internet, on every article was just, it's dead. What a joke. What a scam, blah, blah, blah. I threw up. I threw up. I couldn't do anything all day. Like, I
So
was just like, this is it. I've lost everything.
Dude,
And
that's awesome.
Dude.
yeah,
That's awesome.
No. Listen, no, it's saying around
know.
because like, look, my ride from 17,000 to 3,000, it's the same ride every other people got to do. You'll get it, but yeah, at that
Gotta
time,
earn it.
1,000 to 32, fucking hell, man. That just made the entire show, man. Unbelievable.
So
Unbelievable.
And I remember my mentality on it was that, you know, I'd done all this homework in the stock market and thought that I found this codification of Austrian economics, that Bitcoin was going to be this revolution. And I realized at that point of that I really did buy a pipe dream. Like, I bought something that I couldn't explain to somebody else. It just seemed like this really good thing. Like, I didn't know what how the transaction format worked. I couldn't really explain the network economics and game theory behind it. I had just gotten super excited about something that I would very vaguely understood. I'd read the white paper, right? That was it.
Yeah.
And then we just FOMO'd hard. So I decided that since we'd already lost everything, since we were back to shit broke and not being able to afford our utilities, that I wasn't going to get out without understanding why. Why wasn't it going to work? And that is when I started reading and consuming literally everything I ever could. I said, I'm going to figure out how it is that we kill this thing before I sell out. I'm going to prove that, yes, it's not going to work. Yes, I need to get out of it, and then I'll sell. And so I just took it as kind of a full loss and started reading because I was still completely engrossed in the idea. It fascinated me. And then the more and more I dug, the more and more research I did, the more I was like, this isn't going anywhere. This isn't going anywhere. This is just some, you know, it's just a drawdown. It had just skyrocketed 10,000%. So it fell 9,000, you know, and this still has unbelievable potential. It's just going to take a lot longer than I thought. And you know, the more and more I read, the stronger and stronger my conviction, and then started recording it. And you know, 10 years later, here we are.
Yeah.
Jesus.
So, Guy, that $1,000 you invested basically became worth what, $70 when it dropped down to like $2 or something, or $2.50 or
it was
whatever.
Like $1.70 or something on one of the exchanges. And it was
hell.
like 72. It was $72, I think, was when I broke out the little calculator on my computer because I just wanted to shoot myself.
Damn.
Strong hands, baby. Strong hands in Bitcoin.
So when, you know, so when it falls from 20,000 to 3,000 or whatever, or like has a strong 50% drop, I've been immunized. I've been completely immunized. It doesn't even begin. It doesn't even begin to deal with the losses I've had to feel in the past.
And that's the best part, you know, Guy. You're great because, and I love the generations that pass through Bitcoin. You know, well, man, you're one of the fucking OGs, obviously, but the ones that from 2013 came in, wrote it out. 2017 wrote it out. I mean, you get hardened to the point of those drops are absolutely nothing. You get it. So it's
basically everybody goes through it. Like you know,
they have to.
You just got to. Yeah.
Yep. Absolutely, man. I didn't realize how early you had started. Jesus, that's fantastic, man.
Yeah.
It was crazy days in Bitcoin back then, man.
I remember we bought 2011.
Yeah, we bought a mining rig. We bought a GPU mining rig from a friend who was. It was so funny. We were in the living room talking with him about it. And he had mined some and then sold everything out because he was certain that the gig was up. And I had really my brother and I had been kind of rebuilding our conviction at that point and understanding that, like, okay, no, we're still just seeing something that a lot of people are misunderstanding. Because he still thought it was a technology that was going to take off. And then when the price dropped and we're like, no, it's a money. no, you don't understand exactly what is shifting here. And we had a debate while we were trying to buy his computer from us. He was trying to explain why we shouldn't buy it, and how Bitcoin was doomed and this was over. And we sat there for like an hour talking, trying to convince him basically to keep his mining machine because Bitcoin was not over yet, and this is still just the beginning. But I think we turned that thing on for like a week, and then it was just burning through stuff, and it was loud in our living room. And I remember thinking that we were only mining like 0.04. It was like 4 million sats or 5 million sats a day or something like that.
Oh,
which
is
was
that
like,
all?
Which was like pennies. And it was like,
Then
we'll just cut it off. And we never turned it back on. We never made our money back on the thing. We just ended up, I ended up parting it out for another one of my custom machines that I am constantly breaking down and rebuilding.
Nice. Pubby, I think so there has been like this entire stream, there has been this, I could hear someone talk in the background, and I realized that you have another mobile and you didn't put that stream on mute. You have our stream going with audio on it. Am I right?
I've been hearing that. I've been hearing myself delayed for about a second.
What? There, fixed. Better? Be good?
I just thought you were in a pub.
Yeah. No, he's in his African hotel room with some decor there behind him. No, we stepped up. We are outside the otherwise authentic noise of the pub. But Guy, I really look forward to meeting you in Miami, and I will meet Pubby in Miami. Yeah.
Yep.
So we're talking. It's only 4 months from now. I can't wait. Like Pubby here has been my friend for now 3 years or more, and it's going to be a blast. And I hope people watching, other Bitcoiners, they will come and join. We have a link down below that I got from CK from Bitcoin Magazine. They're hosting it, where if you use the code Toxic21, you get 21% discount. We don't make anything on the link. We just want to send people to what we believe is going to be an amazing conference. Like the speakers there are insane, and so will the after party be. The Toxic Happy Hour will reign in Miami.
Anders, we don't make anything off the show. Why the hell would we make anything off the link?
Well, dude, like I want to.
We're keeping it real.
Well, we're keeping it real. But
yeah, man.
Someone in the chat yesterday, when we had Ben Kaufman on, because he was drinking from this cool hip bottle, and someone from the chat said, I want a Toxic Happy Hour hip bottle. So I definitely think we should do some merch. There's not money in it, I think, but it'd be fun to do some lit Toxic Happy Hour merch. If nothing else, just to get the Toxic Happy Hour toxicity towards scams that delay the adoption of global sound money out there.
Yeah, we could probably hit 40 people on live chat, unless we get Katie the Russian back on again, and we'll go back up to 1,000.
Right. That went crazy. Some people said it was bots. We had 1,200 live viewers at that stage. But anyways, in the chat, people have been making me or us aware that Swan Signal is actually live right now. And as I said, I don't plan, like, we plan a little bit, but I'm sorry, I don't look at the Swan Signal schedule, and I'm pretty sure there's room for all of us. But they're doing great shows. It's a great channel, great content, like really, really good content. So I will personally be watching current episode, which is Knut Svanholm and Robert Breedlove on replay for sure. That's going to be great. Recommend it to everyone. I don't know if you're making a joke here or not. I don't think you are, but Guy Swan went balls deep in 2011 at the very, very peak of $30.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was epic times.
So, the fascinating thing is from that too is, and the next generation coming in, I only read about it. So I know they won't even hear about it. But Jesus fucking Christ, a paper wallet. You got this digital currency, and you put it on a paper wallet. How in the hell did that work? I mean, that's got to be scary as shit.
Dude, paper wallets back, we didn't even have hierarchically deterministic
Yeah,
wallets at the
yeah,
time. So, if you didn't, you had to back up your wallet.dat file like every couple of days. And when you generated a new address, like depending on like the kind of the wallet you were using, the new address wouldn't be in your update. It wouldn't be in your backup.
wow,
Like those standards weren't developed for years after that.
wow.
And I remember thinking the hierarchically deterministic wallet thing was just the coolest thing ever, that you could just back up your seed words once and always restore your wallet. That was a breakthrough. That was an innovation. You don't understand how easy it was to lose Bitcoin back in the day.
Yeah,
Because your pool of potential addresses that you could generate is essentially as large as your key space. So you could just as easily lose them by not generating the same addresses ever again and know that you actually have the private key to an address out there. And then on top of that, every single service was just shady as crap. I mean, just so shady. Like when we first got in, like Mt. Gox, you couldn't even like Mt. Gox didn't have like a server. You couldn't like ACH to Mt. Gox or whatever. Like we had to. There was like a double like roundabout thing that we had to do. We had to take cash to a red phone thing at a gas station. And then we would deposit into an account that would be able to fund an account on Dawala, which was the shady like intermediary thing. And the only way that we could deposit it and that they would actually distinguish who we were as a user is they would give us a random exact change amount. So like if I wanted to deposit $100, they would say,
17
okay,
cents, right?
go deposit $100.17 exactly. And then that 17 cent is the identifier that they need to credit my account with that $100. Like that was like that was my username, was the 17 cent that they put on the end of it. And then that would take like 3 days. I remember freaking out multiple times that the money was just never showing up. And I would send emails to support, which is, I'm sure, just one dude sitting in his house somewhere. And he wouldn't get back to me for like 4 or 5 days. And then finally it would show up and I'd be sweating balls. I'd just like, oh my God, where's my money? And then the same thing would happen when I would transfer from Dawala to Mt. Gox, is that would take like days. And then finally it would show up, and then a couple of years after that, Mt. Gox blew up. I mean, everything was just a nightmare. It was all band-aids and zip ties, and like it would nothing felt safe, nothing felt robust, nothing felt like a legitimate institution. It all felt like a bunch of nerds hacking something together as quickly as they could, and then just giving the very least version of it possible front facing on the internet so that you could actually use it, and partnering with some crazy shady thing that just didn't have any oversight yet because it wasn't big enough to matter. Like the whole space felt like that. Like it's just orders of magnitude easier. Everything is just so simple today. In comparison, like there were a million freaking ways to lose your Bitcoin, or to not get in, or to get scared and sell and just exit thinking it was done. Like I have mad respect for anybody who had it in those days and managed to hang on to some of it, because it was just too easy. I mean, I've burned keys with more Bitcoin in them than I have today. And there was just always a way to do it. And you throw up
Bitcoin.
You just throw up and you keep going
forward.
Oh
my God.
Jesus. It's just one of those things.
Dude, that's scary. Yeah. But Guy, did you say that you bought on a petrol station in 2011? There wasn't actually BTM back then, or what? Where did you say you buy it?
It was, my brother remembers this way better than I do. He's Agorist View on Twitter, and we've talked about it. In fact, I've been meaning to get him on the show and get him to remind me exactly what the process was. Because I think he did it twice and I was only there one time. But there was some sort of a red phone thing. It wasn't a Bitcoin ATM. It was some sort of a money transfer service that was connected to the Shady service that was connected to the Mt. Gox exchange. So it was literally 3 layers or 2 layers removed from anything related to Bitcoin. In fact, I'm not even sure if this thing knew that what we were doing had anything to do with Bitcoin. They might not even have been able to, like, if you called them up support and be like, I'm trying to get my Bitcoin, they'd have been like, Bitcoin? What the hell is this? You know, he remembers it way better than I do. I tend to forget the process and all the headache and stuff that we went through back then.
You want to talk about some, you want to talk about some pain, man. And yeah, hey, was it Axe BTC? Dude, I got a wallet with 10 BTC and encrypted drive that I still have not been able to remember the password. I hope that's not true, man.
I'm sorry, man. I feel your pain. I feel your pain.
That is fucking horrible.
I know exactly what it feels
man.
like.
Marty has the right response to that. Oof.gif.
Yep.
Is that the kind of thing you've done, Guy? You said you threw away some private keys, so you burnt them. Is it just a matter of you remembering the password, or are we talking about gone for good?
If it was just a matter of remembering the password, I would have gotten into it by now. Because I spoke with our local in Wilmington. There was the university actually had a little mini like supercomputer thing that they actually use for password cracking and like doing little things like that. And it was 90% of the time it sat dormant. And so they always liked doing like little projects like that. My friend and I like really like went hard into trying to figure out how to recover these Bitcoin. And we would have just been able to like particularly, unless of course, obviously just we had used like a completely random generated password, then there's not really any option if you're like 13, 14 characters. But if there had been any way to brute force it, we'd had that sucker running for as long as we possibly could to try to get the Bitcoins back. It would have been worth it. But what happened though is that when you do a password wallet, I learned a lot about keys and how seeds generate and everything. When this happened was on like a Trezor. When you use a password wallet, it generates an entirely new set of keys when you punch in that password. And it's such a level of security and obfuscation already that if you do it, use an insanely memorable password. Use a cheap, crappy, like easy password because you're already behind the pin. You're already behind the seed phrase. You're already on a hardware device. There's no reason to use a complex password. My mistake was using a randomly generated one from LastPass just out of habit. 13 characters. And the backup of it, we were having trouble with the printer. And so it didn't get printed out that day. And it was like, we'll figure it out later, put it in a text file on a solid state drive. And then sometime later, and it was on a Windows computer, which I hate. I'll never use Windows again. Probably this is the nail in the coffin for me for Windows. Windows basically took a shit on me with an update that it like forced randomly in the middle of something, and then it got interrupted and the OS was dead. Now I forgot that's where the keys were. That was the only copy of that password, and went ahead and wiped the hard drive and reinstalled the operating system, and that was that. I went looking through like the BIP 39 standard and how they generate the keys, and they even make it brute force like resistant, which just makes me hate and love Bitcoin developers all the more, because to generate like what they do, like when you have your 24-word seed and then your passphrase, which it was so stupid of me to use. Like it was so stupid to use a 13-character random generated, but whatever. Is that is actually generates a separate 256-bit key, and then your 24-word seed does a 256-bit key. You combine them together to a 512, and then they do a 256-bit hash 1,000 times, so that just to get a key to test from that, it takes a couple of seconds, which means that you can't do this at hundreds of thousands per second, which is the only possible way that you could ever brute force anything with any kind of randomness.
Right.
And so that final 256-bit hash at 1,000 is the key that's used to generate the wallet. After 8 or 9 random characters, when you add that 10th, when you add that 11th, when you add that 12th character, you go from maybe this is going to take 10 years to brute force to maybe the sun won't die of its heat death. Like the level of space in like randomness and like key space is just astronomical. We tried to recover from the hard drive. We got analysis, sent it off. I mean, we tried everything that could be tried, really.
What you're saying here is very interesting, and it's actually what Jeff talks about. Yeah, here comes the book. It's the one book I have lying here, but it's a good book and it's worth reading. It's a very good book. So so one thing that is interesting in Jeff Booth's book, The Price of Tomorrow, is he talks about exponentials, and that mankind doesn't understand exponentials like you're explaining now. Adding those extra characters, like just one character takes it from 10 years to maybe thousands of years, even if you brute force with hard computer power. But Guy, I know we've taken 2 hours of your time now, so maybe it's a good time.
Actually, I've got another show in like 5 minutes.
They suck. They're nothing like us, guaranteed.
There you go.
But
it's worth it.
Let's give Guy a chance to do some shills. Your Twitter link is down below, so people can go and follow you. And I'm sure you'll link to all your content and your website there. But give us some shills. Take it away.
You got you pretty much get to everything from guyswann.com these days. And I try to keep that one updated. But Bitcoin Audible has just shy of 500 different reads now, and 600 and something episodes in like guys' takes and chats, interviews with other people in the space. If you want to learn, listen to, dig into straight up any topic on Bitcoin, basically at this point we've covered it. So it's on Bitcoin Audible, and then my other show, which gets updated much less often, but I love it and we have a great time, is Shitcoin Insider. There'll probably be another episode of that one coming soon. You can get those at Shitcoin Insider and at Bitcoin Audible on Twitter. I am at The Crypto Economy, and just search Guy Swann. You'll probably bump into my stuff. I got like and I actually will be adding this to guyswann.com soon. But I'm like 6 Bitcoin audiobooks deep right now and got 2 more on the way. Nick Batia's Layered Money. I think we're closing it out. I've got a couple of little things to correct on that one. And I'm closing out Magic Internet Money from Jesse Berger. That'll be coming soon too. So if you want to hear me read Inventing Bitcoin by Jan, Knut von Holmes, Sovereignty Through Mathematics, Independence Reimagined, Little Bitcoin book. This book will save you time. They're Gigi's 21 lessons. It just got a lot of great audiobooks too. So, feel free to check those out.
And are they, do you need to have internet access when you listen to them, or can you download these? And also, you just download it. Are you also on Podcast Addict or? You need to go to Audible.
I'm pretty sure. Like I got I'm using Anchor or whatever, and they broadcast all over the place. I haven't checked on Podcast Addict, but I would imagine I'm on that index. Like
it is. No,
okay.
I can verify. That's why I listen to his stuff. Yep.
Cool.
I'll verify.
Awesome. Guy, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your insights and your experience of buying the top and writing it down to $1.70. Very inspirational. And through education, you kept a strong hand. And that's what I keep telling people. If you
Diamond
don't
hands.
Diamond. If you do not
Diamond
educate
hands,
yourself, if you do not educate yourself, you will panic sell when there's a 10% correction, and you will be left behind on the station when the train is going choo-choo. So education is the key to survival and success. Pubby, do you have any final words?
Learn it all at Bitcoin Audible. I got all the articles, all the critical ones, all the fundamentals.
Listen, Guy Swan is one of the OG legends here in my mind. And for him to take the time just to hang out with a couple of us, just to shoot the shit, it's fantastic. Thank you.
Good time, man. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it a lot. Had a good time.
I love the fact, he took such a unique approach to Bitcoin. He took an approach of, you know what? I didn't like the content here, so I create my own. And that is the Bitcoin ethos to me. He made his own way here, and I love it. So thanks, guys.
Awesome.
Thank you. That means a lot.
Join us tomorrow. Hey, if you got anything for Stefan Livera, let us know, because we're talking. He's on our show tomorrow. So if you got any questions, you just let us know, man.
I'll jump in the chat and I'll bug y'all.
Hey, Canute does it all the time, man. We'd welcome someone new.
Awesome. Sounds good.
Everyone watching now, we have Stefan Livera, so it'll be the third day in a row, actually the fourth business day in a row that we run Toxic Cap Era. So that's going to be a ball. It will be later. I believe it's 2:30 PST. But once I get the thumbnail from Chairforce, also linked to him below, I will post it. And Guy, it's time to free you. So I will give you the outro. I will give you the outro. People out there, be careful storing more value in dirty fiat. It is losing value over time. It's a built-in policy to take away the value of your savings to fund the government and the state. And US dollars has lost about 98% of purchasing power since the Federal Reserve was created in 1913 with the purpose of taking away your savings. So be careful. It's a policy. On that note, everyone out there, thank you for watching. Thank you, Guy Swan, your boss. See you on the next one.